So my parents, they had a bakery called Country Boy Bakery. They had 3 locations in Jonesboro. And 5 years old, I lost my dad to a heart attack. And then we kept that restaurant, or the bakery, open for 2 more years after that until I was 7. Then sold those. I was used to working at a very young age, and then going to school and experience the tragedy and everything, kind of having everybody's sympathy and everything, but kind of just used to dealing with it, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. So then I grew up with my sister and my mom for the last 18 years, being the only guy. So many people say you're not a man until you lose your father. So in that case, I would have become the man of the house at 5 years old, which was pretty young to be the man of the house. So I had to kind of fill in roles as needed and kind of grow up a little bit quicker than most other kids. Luckily, I had a lot of role models, coaches, and things that helped to build me up and show me how a man should act in life. At an early age, I was in church. Church kind of played a big key factor for me because we had RAs that was kind of an all-guys group. Boys, we made pine cars. It was kind of a Boy Scouts. Just kind of hanging out at the church, getting faith-based, and just kind of learning how God is your father. And so he was kind of able to fill in that gap where I didn't have an earthly father early in life. We had camps that taught us different things, how to change tires, how to change oil, things that most other kids might learn from their dad, but I got to learn at a camp instead through the church. So I have 2 big things that played key factors in how I grew up and the man I am today, and that would be ministry and then mascotting. I kind of got mascotting about junior year in high school. Long story short, I became the high school mascot, ended up coming to A-State and trying out to be Howl, and got that position. A lot of comedians used humor to hide their depression, and it was kind of an outlet for that, to get sadness out of the way and just pretend to be happy and be happy. And then ministry, got the call to ministry to be a preacher maybe one day, and see how those 2 things can tie in together. Built me up to be what people see today. I feel like one day maybe I'll be able to do a mascot ministry or a sports ministry using mascots. So I would hope that that's my calling later on, is to start a business or start a ministry that can use mascots together. Lessons that Howl taught me were definitely teamwork. It's not just a single person. You have an entire team behind you, and that team can build you up or it can tear you down. We competed nationally, and we ended up getting 6th place in the nation, and it was all due to teamwork. My favorite community event is when we went to a bowl game and got to go to the Ronald McDonald Hospital, and there was a little girl that we couldn't go in her room. She saw Hal and Scarlett walk by, and the little girl ended up getting out of bed. She was 4 years old, had an IV. The dad's walking her down the hall, and they're calling for Hal and Scarlett to stop. And so I just stopped, got down on my knees, and she ended up letting go of the IV pole, like stumbling to me and falling in my arms. And that was probably one of the most awesome things ever. And then followed up with the grandma walking up and saying, that's the first time she's walked in forever. That's the first time she's smiled in forever, and even laughed. My experience, I wouldn't trade for the world. I've gained so many friends, lifelong friends. You think your friends in high school are your lifelong friends, but then you get to college and you just have a way of clicking with these people and having the same interests. It's just phenomenal, and A-State helped to mold that together. One thing that I'm most proud of, which it's hard for me to put into words or thought process of it, but it would probably be how my life beat the statistics of the tragedy that happened to my family and me at such a young age. and how my path was kind of laid out, yet I didn't end up on that path. I ended up on a different path that God led for me through A-State, through the role models, through the coaches, through life in general, how He just led me down an extraordinary path rather than the ordinary. My name is Jacob Lindley, and I'm a human of A-State.